The humid air hung thick and heavy, a palpable blanket clinging to Robert Muldoon's khaki uniform. Sweat beaded on his brow as he surveyed the scene before him. Not raptors this time. Something bigger, something different. A low rumble vibrated through the ground, a primal growl that set his teeth on edge. They had arrived on schedule, the Allosaurus securely contained in a massive steel crate suspended from a heavy-duty crane. The sheer size of the beast, even within its confines, was awe-inspiring. This was no sleek, cunning velociraptor. This was raw power, a prehistoric tank draped in scaly hide and armed with bone-crushing jaws. Muldoon tightened his grip on his SPAS 12 shotgun, though the weapon felt almost insignificant in the face of such overwhelming force. Hammond, in his boundless exuberance, had assured him, "Robert, my boy, this will be the star attraction. Imagine the spectacle. The majesty." Muldoon had imagined, all right. He'd imagined the possibilities, the dangers, the inherent chaos of bringing such a creature back from the dead. "All right, people, listen up." Muldoon's voice cut through the cacophony of the crane's engine and the nervous chatter of the park workers. "Final checks on the perimeter fence. Power output at maximum. No mistakes. This is not a drill." He watched as the team meticulously inspected the electrified fence surrounding the enclosure. A double layer of thick steel mesh, intertwined with razor wire and pulsating with enough voltage to fry a rhino. It needed to hold. It had to hold. The Allosaurus enclosure was a sprawling expanse of fabricated jungle, a carefully constructed ecosystem designed to mimic the creature's natural habitat. Towering ferns, dense thickets, and artificial rock formations created a labyrinthine landscape where the dinosaur could roam, hunt, and hopefully, remain contained. The crate was slowly lowered into the enclosure, the metal groaning under the immense weight. Muldoon could feel the Allosaurus shifting within, anticipating its release. The air crackled with anticipation, a tangible tension that coiled around him like a viper. "Release the harness!" he barked into his radio. With a series of clanks and whirs, the straps holding the crate gave way. The cage doors swung open, revealing the Allosaurus in its full, terrifying glory. It was magnificent. A creature ripped from the pages of prehistory, a living testament to the awesome power of nature. Roughly 12 meters long and weighing almost 3 tons. Its dark green hide was scarred and pitted, a road map of ancient battles and long-forgotten hunts. Its powerful legs, thick as tree trunks, supported a muscular body built for speed and aggression. But it was the head that captivated Muldoon's attention. A massive skull dominated by 2 bony crests above its eyes, a symbol of aggression. The jaws were lined with rows of serrated teeth capable of tearing flesh from bone. For a moment, the Allosaurus stood motionless, blinking in the unfamiliar sunlight. Then, with a mighty roar that echoed through the jungle, it charged. Not into the enclosure, not towards the fabricated prey scattered within, but straight for the fence. For Muldoon. The Allosaurus slammed into the electrified barrier with a force that shook the ground. Sparks flew, illuminating the beast in a blinding flash of blue. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone and burnt flesh. The Allosaurus roared again, a guttural bellow of pain and frustration, as the electricity coursed through its body. Muldoon stood his ground, SPAS 12 raised, but not firing. He wouldn't use it unless absolutely necessary. This wasn't about killing the animal. It was about containing it. He needed to observe, to understand its behavior, to anticipate its next move. The Allosaurus staggered back, momentarily stunned. It shook its massive head, clearing the fog of electricity, then fixed its gaze on Muldoon, its eyes burning with primal rage. For a heart-stopping moment, Muldoon thought the beast would charge again. He could see the muscles bunching in its legs, the tendons straining, preparing for another assault. But then, something changed. A flicker of intelligence, perhaps. Or maybe just a primal instinct for self-preservation. The Allosaurus turned away from the fence, away from Muldoon, and disappeared into the dense jungle of its enclosure. Silence descended, broken only by the hum of the electrified fence and the frantic beating of Muldoon's heart. He lowered his shotgun, his hand trembling slightly. "Status report," He barked into his radio. "Fence integrity confirmed," came the reply. "Power output holding steady. Allosaurus is contained within the enclosure." Muldoon exhaled slowly, releasing the breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Very good. Maintain vigilance. I want eyes on that animal at all times." He knew this was just the beginning. The Allosaurus was contained, for now. But it was also an apex predator, intelligent, powerful, and driven by instincts honed over millions of years. It would test the boundaries of its prison, probe for weaknesses, and exploit any opportunity to escape. Muldoon turned to face the jungle, his gaze fixed on the point where the Allosaurus had vanished. He knew that Hammond's star attraction was more than just a spectacle. It was a challenge, a test of his abilities, and a constant, looming threat. He remembered Hammond's words again. "Control is the key, Robert. Control is everything." Now, alone with the Allosaurus in its fabricated domain, Muldoon understood the true weight of those words. Control was not guaranteed. Control was earned. And in this park, control was a very, very fragile thing. He spent the next few hours monitoring the Allosaurus from the observation tower, studying its movements, its patterns, its behavior. The creature seemed to be acclimating to its new environment, exploring its territory, testing the limits of its confinement. It stalked through the artificial jungle with a predatory grace, its massive form moving with surprising agility. It sniffed at the fabricated plants, batted at the artificial rocks, and occasionally let out a low, rumbling growl that sent shivers down Muldoon's spine. He noticed that the Allosaurus seemed particularly interested in one section of the fence, a spot where a large tree had fallen against the barrier, creating a potential weak point. It paced back and forth in front of the tree, its eyes fixed on the intertwined branches and the electrified mesh. Muldoon knew he had to act quickly. If the Allosaurus managed to push the tree against the fence with enough force, it could create a breach, a gap large enough for it to escape. He gathered a team of workers and instructed them to reinforce the fence around the tree. They worked quickly and efficiently, adding extra layers of steel mesh and reinforcing the support beams. As they worked, the Allosaurus watched them from the edge of the jungle, its eyes burning with a mixture of curiosity and frustration. It seemed to understand that they were thwarting its plans, and it didn't like it one bit. By nightfall, the fence was secure, and the Allosaurus seemed to have lost interest in the tree. It retreated to a secluded corner of the enclosure, curled up in the shadows, and fell asleep. Muldoon, however, remained vigilant. He knew that the Allosaurus was merely biding its time, waiting for another opportunity to test its boundaries. He knew that the battle for control was far from over. As he stood in the observation tower, watching the sleeping Allosaurus, he couldn't help but feel a grudging respect for the creature. It was a survivor, a living relic of a lost world, and it was determined to survive, no matter the odds. Muldoon knew that he was also a survivor. He had faced down countless threats, outsmarted cunning predators, and always found a way to prevail. He was determined to keep the Allosaurus contained, to protect the park and its visitors from its raw power. But as he looked out at the fabricated jungle, at the sleeping giant lurking within, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was playing a losing game. That sooner or later, the Allosaurus would find a way to break free. And when it did, he would be ready. He had no intention of becoming dinosaur food.